Hello, my loves. I hope that you are having a better day than I am. Oh, we are going to talk about the art and um, the art of letting go. And when it's time to let go, how you know it's time to let go, and how you can do so more effectively, without all the guilt and the shame that goes along with that. And if you are someone who has ADD or bipolar or any of those things, what we often do during our manic periods or during a period of particular um what's the word for it, um particular productivity, shall we say, is that you buy things and you're like, I'm gonna do this and this and this and this. And then you get out of that phase of hyper focus on a specific topic, and then you go, hmm, I don't know. But then maybe you come back around to it and you actually start to do the thing. And I'm just gonna tell you my own story, and then hopefully we'll get to the point where I'm recognizing that it's time to let it go and just not for me. Um, during between the pandemic and now, I bought a course on EFT and tapping, where you say some words and then go through a series of acupressure type points. Man, that hurts when I do that. Should not do that the day after a migraine. It will hurt and start that process all over again. Um, anyway, it I've used tapping in the past and found it to be relatively effective, not the most effective thing that I've ever used, and certainly not a revolutionary thing, but I did find it to be helpful in some instances and with certain tapping points. And there may come a time, to be honest with you, when I do use this within my own practice for other people, but I think it's going to be a modified version. Like, again, if you have migraines, you should not be tapping on the top of your head. It still hurts right now. Um, and if you have nails, like I do, tapping little tiny points on your face in particular, like right here, you just end up stabbing yourself. And as somebody who has fibromyalgia and has severe nerve pain in a lot of places, it's just not something that's actually helpful. It tends to cause more problems than it solves. And so I want to say 60 to 65% of the way through the course. And I realized that there was some effective patterns that I could use for myself and in my practice, but the actual act of tapping all over my face and my chest and underneath my armpit, just not really great. So as I was sitting there yesterday, I did this right before I got a migraine, and I was like miserable the entire time I was trying to listen to this gentleman talk. And he's a little rambly to begin with, and he just continues to talk and instead of getting to it. And so, like, half of the course wasn't even about tapping, it was about getting people, it was more like a coaching thing. And that's not what I bought. And then we finally get to the tapping part, and I realize that it's just not an effective method. And for a lot of people, I think that the ways in which he was going about it um, can be more detrimental than helpful. Because if you have trust issues with yourself, starting to say things like, I love and accept myself completely. Mm, because when I was doing that, I was having a hard time. I'm currently working on my trust in myself and my self efficacy. And, but if you have had troubles with that in the past, it's also not good. It's like using I am affirmations. For me, that doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because my brain will immediately counter and be like, fuck you, no, that's not it, right? Or, are you fucking with me? Because that's not real. Come on now. No, you're not. I can't say, I am a millionaire because I'm not. And my brain will very quickly come back and say, no, you're fucking not. That's hilarious. No. You know what I mean? And so when you are in that space, you cannot just fake that until you make it because it's just going to, all of those barriers are just going to keep it being there. And in fact, without addressing the barrier, without addressing the problem, you're simply just adding to the barriers because now you're lying to yourself. And that doesn't really embed self trust and self efficacy. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that there is a way to approach this process that would be good and would be helpful and would actually release. But I tried doing it with anxiety, which I've been suffering the last 2 days from. And the only thing that I managed to do is make my anxiety worse. So as I sat down and was like, I don't want to quit. I don't want to be a quitter. I don't want to fail at something else, right? Does that resonate? Does that sound familiar? I just can't be a quitter. And then I also had the thought to myself as I was continuing to watch this thing, it's like, man, this is not going to be helpful right now, you know? And I'm never going to use this with other people, and I still have 3 hours of class to go. And then I said to myself, I would rather be doing it XYZ, which is another course that I am far more excited about, which is why I wanted to get this one out of the way. I just wanted to get it done. And I could have been done with that course by now. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, if it didn't have to mean anything about me, if this didn't have to mean that I'm a failure, if it didn't have to mean that I quit something, if I simply recognized that this is not a good fit right now in my current headspace, and that I could, if I wanted to, come back and finish this course later, would I continue the course? Have I done everything in my power to find a way to make this work? And the answers to that really genuinely are yes. And would I continue if I had nothing else after this to do? Would I continue the course? No. If it didn't have to mean anything about me personally, would I continue the course? No. Okay. So maybe, just maybe, right now is not the time to do this. And maybe, just maybe, it's okay to let it go. And so I would beg or ask of you that if you are doing something that you don't care to do and isn't required to be, you know, obviously you can't do this with your children, can't do this with your husband necessarily. It's harder to do with husbands and friends and things like that, but it can apply to relationships as well. Have you done everything in your power to fix it? Have you done everything in your power to shift your own perspectives, to see all of the sides, to figure out if this is going to work? When you're evaluating a job offer, when you are thinking about starting a business, when you are thinking about closing a business, have you done everything in your power to make it work? Have you done everything in your power to stop the issues? If the answers to those questions are yes, then it's probably okay to let it go. Do you want to keep doing this? Like, do you want to? No? Maybe it's okay to let it go. Maybe it's okay to be done. Maybe it's okay to stop trying. I think that the art of letting go, especially as women, is one of the hardest things to do because we are taught to hold on for dear life. And just because something was good at one time and made sense at one time does not mean that it is still good and still healthy and still worthwhile. And especially when it comes to professional certifications, like I I've had to do this numerous times. I was in real estate, I had to learn to let that go. I was in and I tried again as a mortgage professional and it just wasn't right. Granted, I worked at a shady place that was doing illegal things um and didn't train me and nearly lost a good friend of mine their house. So, and by no fault of my own, it was really shitty. It nearly ruined a friendship and definitely ruined a professional relationship that I had with a realtor. And that was awful. Um, that one was much easier to let go. However, jobs like bookkeeping, I had a very hard time saying, I think I'm done with this. I had a very hard time shifting my perspective and trying to go back to VA work. I had a very hard time letting go of VA work in the first place. Um, and, I'm still having some doubts and some struggles around shifting to what I'm currently working on. However, I think that it's okay and I'll get there. And these certifications are important, but this one is not. And I'm okay with releasing it and maybe coming back to it later. So, is there something in your life that you need to release? Is there something that you need to let go of? And something that maybe you're feeling shame around or guilt around letting go of, that you need to release that shame and that guilt. Sometimes it's simply a matter of reframing. And only you can decide what that reframe is. But for me, my reframe is this: this is simply not a modality that I am ever going to use in my life for a client at this point in time. I cannot see myself using this with clients because it's not working. And if I don't believe in a system, it's not going to work for me, right? And if I don't believe that it's the best way to do things or the way with the most ease, there are better modalities out there like Reiki and things like that that I know work and I've been doing for decades without trouble or stress. I just don't have a certification in it. And so it's okay. Here is your permission slip to let it go. Here is your permission slip to release the pain, the anguish, the guilt, all of that. Find your truth. If your truth says, this is not for me, that's okay. It may not be failure. It may simply mean that there's something else that will be better. For me, that's Reiki. Reiki has and always will be in chakra balancing and opening and all of that will always be better than tapping for me. And that simply is somebody who has chronic pain. It's not something that I'm comfortable with. Now, I did see a modality where I was tapping on my hand and tapping on this part of my hand, and none of that bothered me. And in fact, I found that very soothing and very, very enlightening. And so I'll probably put that into my process somewhere. But the tapping on my face and tapping on my neck and I don't like to be touched in those ways, and I don't even wanna touch myself in those ways. And so for me, it wasn't relaxing. There are other people, there are other practitioners who can help you with this, if this is something that you feel that would work for you and that you would want to try. I don't have to be that person, and I think that's the key for me. I don't have to be that. And that's so freeing. There is so much freedom in that. There's so much love in that because I'm honoring myself and loving myself. I'm building that trust within myself because I'm trusting that this is not for me. I'm trusting that when my body, full body revolt says no more, I can go, I believe you. I believe you. You are correct. Let's go find something that is for you. Okay. So I hope that that was helpful. I hope that you found some wisdom, some insight, some permission to let go. And I'll talk to you all next time. See ya. Bye.